What's up, everybody? CHM Carnivorous here. I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Now, I thought I would try something interesting just to see if it would work. What you're looking at in front of me right now is just an old, beat-up 90-gallon fish tank that I had back when I used to collect fish. And my apologies, it is dirty because it's got soil and everything else in it. But that's not the point. The point is, what I wanted to do is just to see how tenacious Drosera cuttings would be. And so I took a whole bunch of cuttings of the plants that I have outside, and then I just put them down in this tank with some peat moss and perlite and some root cuttings, and then also some leaf cuttings. And I want to show you what has happened. And obviously you can see a little bit of it right now. And I just want to show you in the other tank what some of them have looked like, more the first generation. And when I say first generations, I'm talking about literally a matter of, gosh, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, and what those look like. And then I want to look back into this and just look at all the different leaf cuttings that I've gotten and see if I can get some close-up examples of those for you, and then sort of explain just what I did and how easy it is to get a whole bunch of plants from a very little bit amount of Sundews. All that and more coming your way in just a minute. See you soon. As I mentioned, so I have a bunch of plants outside that are starting to wanting to go dormant. It is in Florida here, so where most things would be already going dormant. We are having an unseasonably warm year, which for Florida is really warm. And so everything's been hanging on. And so what I did was I started taking leaf cuttings of all of the filiformis and Drosera that I had. And then as a result, I wanted to show you what that looked like. Now, what you're looking at here is what I'm going to just go ahead and refer to in this as the first generation. So these are a few months old. As far as the binatas, the filiformis are about a month and a half old. And that's how much growth you can expect in the right conditions for a month and a half. They grow very, very fast. And so what you have here is if you get a singular plant, they will grow exceptionally fast if given the right environment. And I'm going to teach you about that environment in this video. But what I wanted to do is just kind of show you what that first generation that we're calling it looks like and how they're growing. Now, some of these, those in the back there are rooted cuttings. These here are rooted cuttings as well. But these up front are all leaf cuttings. And so they're about a month and a half old. We'll say 2 months just to be safe, but it's definitely no longer than that. And you see that they are growing very fast. So it is exceptionally easy to get a very large collection if that's what you're after. My plan is for 2025 is to have a bog garden, a large one. And so I want to have a lot. So that is what my focus is on right now, is just getting more and more of these plants. And so let's talk about how I was able to get these cuttings and what to do. So very, very simple. Now you'll see a lot of videos where it's saying what you want to do is you want to get a closed container and take some cuttings. When I say cuttings, you literally just want to find a healthy leaf like this one. Take you a pair of sterile scissors and just get a cut. It doesn't have to be any length or size. It's up to you. Whatever will fit in your container. You literally take cuttings, sit them on top of a pot of sphagnum moss and or peat moss and perlite. Make sure that the media is moist, put a lid on it, and then it will do its thing. And I will show you this more in depth when we look at the other tank. But what I wanted to share is that simple. Now, what I wanted to see is, does it have to be that clinical? Do you have to have these sterile conditions to get these things to grow and have it covered in all those things? Or can you have something larger like a fish tank that would provide enough ambient humidity and get the job done? So let's go ahead and look at the other tank and let's see if that in fact worked. All right, so forgive the sort of grassroots feel of this, but you know, those are how my videos are anyways. But I went ahead and pulled up a piece of that filiformis because I wanted to show you what I'm talking about. So here is the cutting. This is just probably a 2.5, 3 inch piece of filiformis that I cut off, the leaf that I cut off. Now, what you can do is I put it on this tray just for reference, but you can get a tray just like this, put in some either 100% peat or peat and perlite mix, and then just keep it really moist. So this is actually too dry. See how dry that is? You want it to be nice and moist. And they can almost take wet, not almost, they can take wet conditions. So what I've seen a lot of growers do is use sphagnum moss and literally fill it full of water and then just have a little bit of sphagnum moss for the roots to bind to, and that works just fine. But what I want to show is you can see here how the plant itself is starting to, or excuse me, how little babies have started growing right out of the middle of the leaf here. And if you can see right here, it's a little hard to tell, but those are roots that have come in off those plants. It's dirty because I pulled it out of the ground in that other tank, but it will literally produce leaves or new plants right out of that cutting. And so right there is the root. See that? Well, that's a good angle if I don't, pardon my shaking, but it's a nervous condition that I have. But right there, you see the roots growing out of it, and that is the plant growing out of it. Now, this looks like it's quite large. That plant is probably 2 inches tall. That took maybe 3.5 weeks at most to come up. So they grow very, very fast. And in this example, there's only one, but it is not uncommon at all to have these all up and down this leaf. They produce the new pups directly from the leaf itself, so there's no nodes or anything like that that you need to worry about, and it will produce this beautiful plant, and very quickly it will become this. Now so what I do is grow it in that larger tank or a tank like this, and then you can either move it because they will get large, or you can leave it in the tank, which is what I'm going to do with the one I showed you in the beginning, and we'll show you here in a minute. But I wanted to show you this for reference. I'm going to plant this one back up, and then we'll go take a look at the tank. All right, so now we're looking at the tank again. My apologies for the dirtiness of the tank. It's just an old one that I had, and I was like, you know what, let me try this experiment and see if it will work. But you can do this with almost all basically binatas, but or excuse me, Drosera, but some of them are more effective than others. Binatas and filiformis are very, very good at creating pups from leaf cuttings and root pullings or root cuttings. And so a couple caveats is the root cuttings, they take a little longer to strike, but you'll have a much higher strike rate, and they produce very larger growth faster. And so what you're looking at right here is, it looks like this is going to be a binata staghorn. And so this staghorn is from a root, and it is, see how much larger it is comparative to all the other ones. They were all planted at the same time, but they will just produce much faster because they have the energy built up in those roots. There's some more over there that are growing nice and tall, and there's some right there. So the roots will give you a lot more, and it's as simple as the leaf cuttings. You literally just pull your plant either out of the ground or out of the pot. Sometimes they have roots growing out of the bottom of the pot, and literally just snip off a couple inches of root here and there. You want to make sure the root has a white tip at the best possible success. However, I have found that they will do just fine. As long as the root is firm and not squishy, it will do just fine. You literally put it on the sphagnum, or on the peat moss rather, cover it with maybe just the slightest bit of dirt. That way it's not completely buried and gets a little bit of light. And in no time, keep that soil damp, and in no time you will have nice growth coming out. So let me pause the camera because I want to show you, I'm going to try to get a close-up of this clump back here and just show you what leaf cuttings will do for you. All right, getting a good video is very hard to do when you're using a phone, but I think I've been able to get you a good idea here. These are leaf pullings or leaf cuttings from binatas, and so I've got several different types of binatas in here: staghorns, Evans head, multifida extrema, fork leaf sundew, giant fork leaf sundew, Marston's dragon. And so really the type is not all that important. The binatas in general do an exceptionally good job of growing. What I've found is they do very, very well in just about any sort of media, whether that is sphagnum moss with water or peat and perlite. And so what you have here is, you can't even see the actual actual leaf, the starter leaf at all anymore, because it is so covered with pups. And that's what you'll get from leaf pullings, especially with binatas, is the rooted cuttings will produce larger plants, but it's not going to produce nearly as many, whereas a leaf cutting will produce a ton. And so right here, you can see there is a ton. The drawback is it will take them a little bit longer to grow. The plus side is that you're going to have a lot more plants. So here's a smaller example of that. If I can get the phone to focus there, that is a leaf cutting that is fairly new, with all those little babies coming out. Now, what's interesting to note is I didn't do anything specific with these. So let me see if I can pull up some more binatas here. Sorry for the camera movement. Or these are filiformis right here. And just see how those are growing. I haven't done anything fun here. So what I wanted to, or anything crazy here. What I wanted to do was see if these plants would grow if I just put them straight on the soil in this fish tank without covering them up with anything, and see how that would work. And as you can see here, it's obviously worked very well. The key is just keeping that soil moist. And so I have a little spray bottle that I spray it down daily. And then this fish tank has some glass lids on it. And then lighting. Lighting is very important. And so I've used the same lights that I would use for my larger parent plants. And so I've got a, I actually got one of these lights from Home Depot, which are, Lowe's, which are actually fantastic for plant growth. But then I also have a Mars Hydro that I have over this as well. The environment of the fish tank just allows no moisture to get out, obviously. And so it does very, very well with that and keeps the soil nice and evenly moist. And then also just having the top on there with the lights creates sort of that greenhouse effect, and on a large scale does what you would have for cuttings. Now, obviously this isn't conducive for everybody, but you can do this with any size fish tank. And also you can do this with a regular container if you'd like, any sort of plastic container. I mean, anything as simple as some sort of container that you would get for your food, all the way up to as large as you want to get. Just to make sure that the lid is see-through so that the light can get to it, and it will do just fine. Now you'll see here, I'm going to make in a later video Venus flytraps and how you can get babies off of those. I also want to see how well they will grow in this environment. They don't like to have their roots too wet, but I think they're going to do just fine with as far as getting strikes and getting pups. So this is a shorter video, but there's not a whole lot to it. The whole point of this video was to show you how easy it is to make a bunch of plants from a very little amount of plants. And so you don't have to go and buy dozens and dozens and dozens of the same types of plants to get a large collection. If you have just a little bit of patience, which is hard for me, but you can create an entire forest of these things very, very easily. And let's see, like over here, for instance, let me see if I can zoom in. Pull back, there we go. So these filiformis right here, look at that. That's just one leaf that you see running across the bottom. And there is probably 6 or more large plants growing from that. And so that's the kind of striking that you can expect from these things. Now, they will be exact clones, so there is that, but to me that doesn't matter. The plant is what I'm after. And so just taking one little leaf cutting, putting it right on the soil, keep the soil moist. It literally is that easy. It can even dry out a little bit, but not a whole lot. But it's not really an exacting science. These plants are survivors, and they're very, very tenacious. And so you will get a ton of plants in no time. So if you can allow yourself just a couple months, you will get very nice plants very quickly. And then you can continue to make these cuttings and make this collection as large as possible. I see a lot of new growers. They'll buy multiples of the Droseras just to make a larger collection, where all you need is one. Just take a healthy leaf, cut it, put it in this kind of environment, and in no time you will have a whole bunch. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you would like, I can do another demonstration on exactly how to do the cuttings, but it is literally as easy as just taking some scissors that are sterile, cutting a couple inches off of a leaf, preferably one that does not have insects on it. But I've even found that that doesn't necessarily matter all that much. Put it on top of some sphagnum moss with water, and or some peat moss with perlite, or just regular peat moss. Keep it moist, keep it covered, and get it a good light. And then in just a couple weeks, you'll have more plants than you know what to do with. And then I will make a follow-up video about how to care for them after they've been growing like this. But that is almost as easy as that. That is the fun. One of the reasons why Drosera are so fun is because it's such an interesting experience to see them multiply and do all these amazing things so easily, where a Nepenthes or something like that will take a very long time to create basils and or seeds. Here you can just get the cuttings going and it goes very fast. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.